So welcome to a new installment on the Geek Life.
Geek life.
Yep, this is what we're all about, staying geeky. So today what we're gonna have for you is just a few tips and advice and stuff like that for how to make sure that a game stays running pretty fun, pretty good, and maybe some stuff that would make it not so fun or not so great. Of course, there's probably some specific things that could be tailored to a specific table, but these are probably going to be some general rules of thumb. So we'll start off with a few things that can really make a game session or a game campaign pretty fun for D&D. I think one of the first things that comes to mind is just the the whole thing of something that I learned a while back of fun over story over rules. I kind of like that. I can't remember where I heard that from, but I really like it. It because to me it says that this is a game. It's supposed to be enjoyed, and yes, they're rules, they're not the end all be all type of thing. Sometimes you might need to bend the rules or something like that to ensure that folks at the table are having fun. So that's kind of where that comes up in.
Yeah, I like that. I think putting the enjoyability of the game for first and foremost is should always be the goal, right? You shouldn't get wrapped around the axle with rules lawyering or letting the people that you're playing with, sap that fun away. Because if you're not having fun, then what are you doing there, right? This is supposed to get us away from reality, right? We're supposed to escape and relax and have fun. So I definitely like that. That is a good. I think that's a good tip for sure.
Yeah, and I think it's something that everyone from newbies to the game to old veterans can really abide by. As as when you're having fun, 3 4 hours can feel like 15 minutes,
Goes by like that.
and it's like, wait, we have to wait another week or 2 weeks or however long to the next session now. But I was having so much fun trying to put poison in this king's drink or whatever is going on.
Right. I think that sort of dovetails into another good a good tip, right? Let the players drive what is fun, right? Don't dictate as a DM
Yeah,
what we, right? So if the players are enjoying role playing, let them role play. If they like combat a little bit more, then maybe cater the game to being more combat friendly and make them want to you know make them want to impatiently be waiting for that next game.
yeah, exactly. And and it might be a little bit. It might take a couple of sessions or so to get the feel of a group, especially if it's a new group, just seeing what everybody likes. But even in a well-formed group, it might take a session or two, because who knows, somebody might want to play a character that's more combat eccentric in one campaign, but wants to play a character that's more RP friendly in another game. So it really takes a little bit of watching to see what some of that stuff is like.
Absolutely.
And I think a good way of doing that is just as a GM, just really finding that, just really creating this problem, but don't create a well thought out solution, and just present that problem to the players and see how they go about doing that. As sometimes players will definitely surprise you in what they can come up with.
Oh yeah, that's for sure.
Yep. There's nothing like having a whole session planned and the players go off in the completely opposite direction.
Yes.
Which if
Sometimes sometimes those make not only the best stories to tell afterwards, but the most fun at the table because everybody gets involved in the imagination and the laughter and it goes from there. So for sure.
yeah, so I definitely agree with letting the players drive the story because at the end of the day, which I think is another little bit tidbit of information, is at the end of the day, it's not the GM story or it's not the player's story, it's everybody's story. Everybody's working towards this common goal of having a fun story.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and I also think another good piece of advice on that is just I think to have a really good game session or game campaign especially is I think every now and then just sitting down as a group, whether it's after campaign or another day just hanging out or whatnot, having a good talk to see what's going well in the campaign, what's not going well, what needs to be changed. I think that's really good to keep the game on track to being that fun game. Just to see maybe you thought something was good, but in reality it didn't really pan out that way.
Yeah, I think having these, I'll call it a retrospective because I don't know a better term for it right now. Uh, after game sessions, after game chit chats, or even a couple of days later when people have let the game kind of settle and they've thought about how the session went, to have these side conversations and provide feedback not only to the DM but to the players about how the game is going, whether or not they're having fun, whether they're enjoying their characters, whether or not they're enjoying the world, the setting, the the whole experience. Um, so yeah, that's definitely another way to make sure that the game stays um, engaging and fun for everybody.
Yeah, and exactly. And kind of like a side pointer off of that. Some of the newer DMs might not initially do this, but I think eventually starting to have like some sort of, whether it's like a session zero or a quick like 15 minutes chit chat or something like that before a campaign is actually a good thing to do, just to get a little bit of, hey, this is what I'm somewhat thinking of for the campaign, or this is what I'm thinking I want, or just to set some of those expectations would be pretty good, and
Yeah.
to help keep the game fun. And like I said, it doesn't have to be this long, drag out 3 hour session type of thing. It could be as easy as a quick 10-15 minute chit chat.
Yep.
Yep, and just maybe give your players a few brief details on what the campaign may be, or asking your dungeon master, hey, I'm thinking about maybe this type of character, or this type of backstory. Maybe how can we bring this character into your world, or just some examples like that.
Yep. Yep.
And and I don't think that that's just a one and done type of advice either. I think that's an ongoing process throughout the campaign.
Oh yeah, definitely. You've got to make sure. I'm going to keep relating this to work and to the type of methodologies that we use at work, but using an agile approach.
To all of you IT folks and project managers out there, you're
Yeah,
welcome.
to all those project managers out there. Uh, Basically the idea behind that is that you're constantly updating and adapting and tweaking as you go to make sure that you're staying on course. And I think within a within D&D, a D&D game or any other tabletop game you're playing, you always want to take stock and tweak and do it on do that sort of taking stock on a consistent basis so that people aren't losing interest, that everyone's still having fun, and you're throwing the right things in front of the players that they're gonna like playing and doing, and it'll keep the DM even interested in making the world exciting and fun for him or
Mhm.
her.
Like, like for example, one thing that I like doing in my campaigns, um, whenever I create like a story, whenever I have like the plot points, I never try to put 5 pages of details for each plot point. I always think, all right, what's like two or three things that I want my player to like learn or something like that of that plot point, and then I just present a little hook to them and let my players take the plot point from there. That's one way of doing things like that.
Yep, definitely.
Yeah. So there's definitely a lot of good things like that, and I mean, at the end of the day, not every group or not every campaign's for everyone. Um, you could be the bestest of friends with folks, but sometimes folks might just want a different play style for something, and that's one thing that everybody has to be okay with.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've got a friend who I would classify as very impatient when he plays his games, and he would probably be, if we were to involve him in a D&D campaign, it would probably have to be very combat heavy that moved very quickly, or he would lose a lot of interest. So, yes, being able to know what kind of players you have is very important.
Yeah, it's very important, like you said, and I think that's it's probably one of the more difficult things. It's just reading other folks and trying to keep everything balanced and fun for everyone. I think that could depend on the type of things. It could be pretty difficult to do. Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah,
And kind of like on that note, like one thing that I think that would definitely derail a game pretty easily is when folks forget that it is a game and that like egos get into the way or personal feelings or something like that, and just let things get to them and say, oh no, this isn't supposed to happen, let me try to change this, and without saying, hey guys, let's like table side this for the after the game or something like that, to just talk it out, say, hey, where'd you come up with that? I think it should be like this, but that type of thing.
yep. I, I think letting whatever happens in the moment happen is always the best approach. And if you or somebody else at the table doesn't think that that was done by the rules, then yeah, wait until after the game. Wait until there's a little one-on-one time to not derail the flow and the momentum and the enjoyment that possibly everybody else is having, and work it out in that side conversation. Absolutely.
Yeah, as generally most of the time you only have about 3 to 4 hours to play, give or take. But let's face it, everybody do have lives and stuff like that. Why derail the game for an hour trying to look up a specific rule and say, no, it has to be like this. No, I remember this obscure rule, and let me try to peruse through Twitter on Jeremy Crawford's page to see what this thing is or something
Right.
like that.
The classic portrayal of all the D&D players is their noses in their books, and that's probably a stereotype we don't want to keep perpetuating.
Yep. And then with kind of like in that whole frame of mind as well, I think another thing that could really help derail the game pretty quickly, as if there's too many really bad, what's the word I'm looking for, distractions. Like
Yeah.
sometimes every now and then, if there's a quick like 2 minutes, oh hey, here's a fun joke that I happen to weave in or something like that. Yes, that's another one, phones. It's like if it's like a little 2 minute, hey, I gotta show you this real quick or something like that. All right, not a problem. But when it turns into like 15, 20, 30 minute distraction breaks every other hour, then it starts to become a little bit too much.
Yep.
So, so I think it's one of those things where it's like, in the moment when you think of a joke that pertains to it, say it. Oh, ha ha ha. That's funny. 2 minutes later, all right. So we're going into this king's room to talk to him about this one army's medical thing or whatever you're doing.
Right.
So it's,
Yeah. Don't rehash the joke from 5 minutes ago because something similar just came up. Right. You guys, the joke was made. Everybody laughed about it. Move on.
yeah. And if you do want to like rehash the joke or something like that, and it's been a couple of minutes already, just hold off until the end of the session or whatnot and just say, hey guys, remember when we did such and such? That was very funny. And then you can start to talk about it then or something like that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
As there's been many times in some of my games that we laughed at some moment or something like that, then moved on, and then after session or a different day or something like that, we're like, hey, you remember when you threw that piece of meat in the wolf's mouth or the goblin's mouth?
Yes, for sure.
Yeah. And
Yeah. It's always good to be able to pick those moments and those memories out and talk about them out of context, right? So that you can enjoy them and laugh at them and not get distracted by rehashing them in the moment for too long, right? Obviously, I don't think neither of us are saying that we don't think that when something exciting or humorous happens in the middle of the game, not to ignore it and not discuss it and laugh about it or anything like that. But it's a matter of knowing that you know every joke has its limit, right? You can only laugh about it for so long and be cognizant of how long that is and don't overkill with
yeah,
it.
yeah, and then also, I think this next point is more so for GMs, but it could be for anybody in terms of there shouldn't be this whole GM versus player mentality.
Right.
It shouldn't be, oh, as the GM, I should be out for blood all the time. I need to win this game. No, I fully believe that you want to know how to win a game. It's when everybody's laughing and joking around, having fun at the end of the day. I think that's the true meaning of winning within D&D. And and yeah, if somebody happens to die due to like a poor decision, poor die roll, it happens. but
Yep.
but just combine that with making every encounter purposefully deadly. I don't think that's good at all.
Yeah. You don't want to. You're there to have fun. You're there to relax. You're not there to stress out whether or not you're going to have to build a new character the next day. So
Yeah,
I think going if you go into a game, if that's the kind of game you want to run, and going in that that's the kind of game it is, and it's a grinder of a game, and you want to have that type of experience. Sure, I think that's totally fair, right? But that's as was mentioned a few minutes ago, that expectation is set in a session zero or a pre-game conversation that you're probably not going to survive this. So get ready.
yeah,
It's all about setting those proper expectations.
yeah. And And also with this next point is, I'm not sure if this is a point for making the game better or worse, but every party doesn't necessarily always have to have the every single role filled. Now,
True.
having a balanced party, would that make make the players' lives easier? Yeah, yeah. But it's not necessary to always have that rogue to sneak up, or have that barbarian or that paladin to tank up front or something like that.
Or even a healer in the group.
Yeah, yeah. There's definitely other ways of going around it. I mean, healing potions and med kit, the medicine skill, stuff like that.
Exactly right. Yeah.
And kind of like another point off of that is, I'm glad you kind of brought up the healing thing. Um, I think a thing that could derail the game is going in with that expectation that, hey, hey, John is playing a cleric. He has to be the heal bot for the group. No. Now, on that note, would it be great for John to pick up like a healing word or cure wounds just to have it in case of a oh shit moment? Maybe, but that doesn't have to be the focus of a cleric.
Right.
Uh, uh,
Don't don't force somebody in your game to play their character a specific way or with specific skills.
yeah, because that might not be fun for that person.
Yep.
And same thing when it comes to the stats of a player. Let them pick their stats. If they want to have a 8 strength and 8 charisma, go ahead. If they want to have a 8 constitution, that might not be the greatest thing, but okay, that's how they want to play.
Want to play? Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. So it's one of those. It's kind of a mindset type of thing, which may or may not be difficult for different folks.
Yep.
And and I think coming off of that, another thing that can easily derail the game is definitely if there's some things that are a big, heavy no-no to the group or to someone or something like that. To rehash that big no-no is probably not such a great idea. So, for instance, let's say someone in the group has not had a great experience with the abusive guardian, parent, whatnot, and just rehashing that whole thing, even though it's clear that they're having some PTSD with that. It's probably not a good thing to have within the world of D&D.
Right. Be cognizant of potential traumas or issues in your players' lives so that you can not use those don't become distractions within the game.
Yeah, and yeah, a lot of times you may or may not know of something that a person is going through in their past or present, but if they make it known, I would say try your best to take that into account. As I think if somebody knows that you're trying your best not to bring that up and it slips once or twice, they're probably not going to go for blood. But if you're purposefully trying to bring it up, yeah, things are probably going to get a bit ugly.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and speaking of things getting ugly, and I think another piece of advice is when things kind of start to get a little bit ugly. I think that remembering basic human interactions is a great skill to have, and not just go for each other's throats and stomping them out and whatnot. Try. I guess what I'm saying is try to be like civilized adults or kids or whatever you may be.
Yeah, remember the people you're playing with. They're they're either your friends or they're strangers that you wanted to be friends with. Right? At the end of the day, it's just another person sitting across the table from you. Right? There's no reason to take out to get angry and to take it out on them. Absolutely.
Yeah. And another thing that I think is would definitely derail a game is when is when either a GM shows favoritism towards a player or a player shows favoritism to someone. I think that's a no go because that lets everybody else at the table know that, hey, for whatever reason, this person really likes this other person, and they're giving that person like all the magic items, all the gold, whatever it may be. What am I not doing well, or you know,
Yep.
it it's. I think one of the things to help out with that, which I like to do, is I like to spread the spotlight as much as possible. So I try to make sure that every player has their own like little personalized side quests, so they can have at least one or two times where it should be them shining and things like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Spread the wealth around. Don't show favoritism and make sure that whether it's through special side quests or special story arcs or whatever it may be, make sure that you're spreading that wealth and involving everybody else. You're gonna be looked. It'll be looked upon as favoritism, and you're gonna derail the game and make it less enjoyable for those that are trying to play.